About a year ago, I get a call from Brian Pryor. He is a bishop colleague. He's also very involved with the Episcopal Church Foundation. And he was inviting the Diocese of Louisiana to be a part of the Diocesan Vitality Initiative. And at first, it's a convention year. It's only my second year of my episcopacy. I thought this is a huge thing to undertake. And then I realized that actually this was the perfect time for us to do this work. And so I said yes. So we're working alongside Southwest Florida and Utah and Ohio. And the first thing that we had to do was to decide to discern the things that we felt like were the issues that were the most significant ones facing the Diocese of Louisiana. And the three things that we identified was that we wanted to have a mission-focused budget, that we went line by line in the budget to make sure that the generosity of our churches was being honored in a way that our budget reflected the priorities and vision of the Diocese of Louisiana. And then doing a really hard look at that and maybe, making some hard changes. And then we wanted to also, we can't live in South Louisiana and not talk about property and liability insurance. It takes, when you have margins we see this in our own diocesan budget, more giving, we have more resources, they get wiped out because of rises in property insurance. Over 2 years, almost 60% percentage rise of property insurance premiums. And then three, that we wanted to make sure that we communicated this in a way that was clear to our diocese, and that began on a diocesan level with our communications, but then also inspiring our local congregations to communicate as well. So those are really our three areas of focus. And we've been working on them throughout the year, and we've done some incredible work. I have an incredible team of clergy and lay people working alongside me who are dedicated to do this work.
Through this process, we also not only identified these needs, but we were able to drill down and begin seeing how these areas could help have long-term impact on the vitality of our diocese that we love so much.
Mission-based budgeting, I think of it in terms of kind of three levels. The lowest and maybe least important level is that we are building and planning a sustainable budget. So is it balanced? Are we not overspending relative to the levels of resources that we have? The second most important aspect of it is, are we deploying those resources in a way that is most financially effective? So do we have assets that are just simply not being utilized, or do we have liabilities that are hanging out there that may have been around for a while that we need to resolve and take care of? The third level, and I would argue the most important piece of mission-based budgeting, is that are we deploying those resources responsibly, but in a way that best aligns to the mission of the diocese? Are we seeking to drive outcomes for the diocese and for our member churches that are the best outcomes for those churches within the constraints of the limited resources that we have?
You can't live in Louisiana and not be very much aware of the challenges with insurance. If you're an individual homeowner, you may find that your insurance company is no longer providing policies in Louisiana. Certainly across the state, we are seeing increases in premiums. And then, we're in hurricane season, and so everybody's watching the weather and concerned about that impact. When we do have storms and there are large losses, that does impact our insurance companies in the state. And, within churches within the diocese, we're fortunate to have coverage through the Church Insurance Agency, and yet we've seen large increases over the last 2 years. I think for the current year, we have an 18% increase. Last year, I think it was more like a 40% increase. And you don't have to be a mathematician to understand that we cannot continue to absorb increases of that magnitude year after year. So that necessitates we have to start looking at this creatively, and that will be a big part of the work of the Diocesan Vitality Initiative.
And then our third area of focus is communication. And what we wanted to do is start specifically within the Diocesan Vitality Initiative to ensure that we are being transparent. That we are communicating regularly, that this isn't some secret group that meets in dark corners, but rather that we are a group that comes from all different parts of the diocese coming together to think creatively. And at the end of the day, what we do and what we recommend, we have no authority other than to make recommendations to the bishop, to the executive board, as well as to diocesan convention. And so it's important that we are in communication and we are working with all of the various people and churches throughout the diocese so that there are no surprises.
We have hard work ahead of us, and that excites me and energizes me, as I know it does the lay and clergy leaders of this diocese. I would so much rather have our challenges in front of us and know what they are and figure out a way through them. Keith always says where there's a problem, there's a solution. And these are some hard solutions. And some hard decisions may have to be made. Things are not gonna look exactly the same. And I said that when I first was elected. This diocese is not going to look exactly the same at the end of this period of my episcopacy. But what I do know is that we have an opportunity to maybe look different, but to do more. I want Louisiana to be the little diocese that could, the little diocese that can. And for others to look at us and say, okay, here's a small diocese, we don't have tremendous resources, but they're doing something. And that's when I got the call originally from Bishop Pryor, that's what he said to me. He said, we all got together and we looked and we knew that some good things were happening in Louisiana, and there's a lot of energy. And that's the energy I carry with me week after week. So we're gonna communicate with you clearly. You're gonna walk along next to us, and with God's help and the help of this wonderful community that is this diocese, we're going to end up being stronger and clearer and better than we ever hoped for or imagined.